Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradha Hari Yasora Nandana Vajjana Ranjana Yasora Nandana Vajjana Ranjana Yamuna Diyara Banacha Hari Yamuna Diyara Banacha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. How many of us are here? 5, including the dove? Doves always come, but the pigeons never do, right? That's not a pigeon, that's a dove. What's that? The doves are gray. The pigeons come in a flock, the doves come in two. That's definitely a dove. And if pigeon's in a mode of ignorance, a dove is in the mode of goodness, so don't get that mixed up. Okay, so we are reading from the Prabhupada Lilamrita. No, not the Lilamrita. The Transcendental Diary. Who wrote this? Who did? You got it. Okay. Here, I took off the pages before this, but it says Prabhupada stopped him. So if they want to take, then where is the question of preaching? Because they do not want to take, you have to preach. Otherwise, where is the necessity of preaching? You have to prepare yourself in such a way that nobody is dying for your Krishna consciousness. But you have to convince him that your life is spoiled without Krishna consciousness. That is your capacity. They are under the clutches of Maya. One of the women said that people who are convinced that they already have a revelation or experience that is assuring them of eternal life are not very open to hear. Again, Srila Prabhupada was practical. If they are not open to hear about Krishna, then don't waste your time. When in the lower stage of devotional service, he cannot become preacher. When he's a little upper, second stage, he can become preacher. So preacher has to see 4 things. First of all, God, Ishvara, and Tadina, those who are devotees. God, his devotees, Balisha, the innocent, he who does not know anything. So 3, God, devotee, and innocent. And Divishat, envious, atheistic class. He has to see these 4 things, and he has to deal with 4 persons differently. With God, Ishvar Preme, how to advance my love of God. These dealings. Prema Maitri, and to the devotees we have to make friendship. And to the innocent we have to preach, Kripa. Oh, here is an innocent person. He does not know. He is eager to learn. They're teaching. That's where it is. It keeps dropping there. That should be good. Back to the Kripa. Here is innocent person. He does not know. He's eager to learn. Their teaching is required. Teaching, you cannot teach God, or you cannot teach God's devotees, but you can teach the innocent. And those who are divishat, atheist, upeksha, don't go there. Save yourself. These are the 4 things. So when one is not open to hear, then you don't bother yourself. That requires very strong preacher to convince the atheist class, provided he is reasonable also. If he's stubborn, obstinate, and if he is also very difficult, but preaching is meant innocent, that one who is actually sincere, but he does not know what is God. What is my relationship with God? There is necessity of preaching, not to the envious of those who are already advanced, or to God. So there's a few things being discussed here. The preaching has to be done there. Does the material energy, do people involved in materialistic activities, do they try to promote propaganda? I see this more on Facebook. It seems now one of the people who was trying to be the third presidential candidate, Robert F. Kennedy, he's promoting that you don't need to use peanut oil and these other oils to fry potatoes. You should use beef tallow because these oils are bad. Now, is it true that some of these oils are bad? Is it? It is true, some of them are bad. Does that mean the meat is good? If it's 40 degrees plus here, is that bad? Is it? Who says yes? Yes? Okay, so does that mean if you're in Sweden and it's 40 minus, it's okay? Which one is good? See, they're missing the things. One, do you really need to fry things? Two, it's true, when you reheat many of these oils, they become very acidic, which is bad for the system. Many of these oils are highly acidic, especially if heated the second time. Some places they use cottonseed oil, and they use, even butter is slightly acidic. And you want alkaline ones. So what about ghee? They have a chart of things. The more alkaline, the better. High alkaline, mid-alkaline, low alkaline, low acid, mid-acid, high acid. The meat is high acid, and some of these oils are high acid. But what is ghee? Someone look it up on your phone. See ghee and alkaline. You have a phone with you? Didn't bring it? Someone else have it. Ghee and alkaline. See what it says. But you don't see ghee being promoted. Sometimes it shows in a chart of things they will show. But you want the alkaline foods. What is the best alkaline protein? What? I saw in that it was high alkaline, but as long as it's not acidic. Slightly alkaline, okay. Mostly neutral, slightly alkaline. And the other ones are, ask it about beef and alkaline. Is beef acid or alkaline? Beef is acidic. Is there any ambiguity about that? And the beef and the acid things are what causes cancer. And that is why most people fry in ghee, right? Do they? Even in the temple, they don't use it. But it is the best. So it's the false dichotomy to say that if one thing is bad, the other must be good. And that, again, is called the false dichotomy. It's the same. If 40 degrees minus is bad, 40 degrees plus is good. If 40 degrees plus is bad, then 40 degrees minus is good. Is this correct? No. And this is what political parties show. They show this party is bad, therefore my party is good. Is that true? Because if their extreme is bad, my extreme automatically is good, isn't it? Is it? This is what people don't know, and this is why we present the whole picture of Krishna consciousness, just not one thing at a time. Because if you present the whole idea of offering food to Krishna and being in devotion, then vegetarianism goes along with it. But some people are so threatened. There was one article on there that by not eating beef, you decrease your chance of dementia by 20%. And someone says, well, sorry about that, but I'm going to eat my beef. Well, he's the one that needs to be sorry, right? It's like saying shooting yourself in the head can cause death. Well, sorry about that. I enjoy shooting myself in the head. And it's too bad that you don't agree with me. Well, it doesn't matter what we think, it matters what is reality. And so going on here, Prabhupada is talking about the different kinds of people we deal with. There's 3 classes of devotees. Pay attention to this one, it's going to be a trick question. The first class is Kanishta. The Kanishta is very easy. He comes to the temple, he only thinks it's me and God, push everyone else out of the way. He worships the deity, he doesn't care about others. The Madhyamadikari, he worships God, he makes friends with the devotees, he helps the innocent, and he stays away from those who are antagonistic. And the pure devotee, the Uttama Adhikari, he sees everything as Krishna's mercy, and he can preach to anyone, and he's at the topmost level. So which one do we strive for? Do we strive for Kanishta because it's the easiest, or do we strive for the Uttama because it's the best? Which one is it? Adhika Jivan, which one is it? Which? Take him the microphone. Where's the microphone? We don't have it? So which one is it? Put one finger up if it is A, if it is Kanishta Adhikari. Put 2 fingers up if it's Uttama Adhikari. It's Kanishta Adhikari. Who says Uttama Adhikari? Who thinks they're both wrong? The Kanishta is too easy, but the Uttama Adhikari is beyond where we can strive for. So we try to, I told you it was a trick question. I say those so people will listen to what I'm saying, right? So to get the point, because we can say the best things in the world, but if no one heard it. So what does the Madhyamadikari do differently from the Kanishta? Is what? So he discriminates against people? Or is that prejudiced? What's the difference between prejudice and discrimination? Can you tell me? Prejudice is that you prejudge. Oh, all the people who wear green are like this. All the people from America are like this. You have prejudged it. But discrimination decides that you discriminate. Well, today's a hot day. I won't put on a woolen cap or a long coat. You discriminate. You decide which things are good and which things are not good. So how does the Madhyamadikari discriminate? So they hold signs and they picket down with the envious? Oh, you what? To the envious? To the innocent. If somebody's drunk and they start, don't you tell me about this, and he starts chasing you, do you keep preaching to him? It's like Prabhupada said, if they're not interested, this is what I asked one of the book distributors, how he does well at books. He said, I spend 90% of the time with the 10% most interested to buy. We find some of the people who do a lot of book points. What do? Do they sprout extra arms and pass out the small books and everybody gives? Or do they find someone who's somewhat interested and get them to buy 3, 4, 5, 12 books? Which one is it? Which one? They sprout extra arms? No, if somebody's a little interested, they get them to buy several. Because if somebody has a set of Bhagavatams, is that going to be more likely that they and other people will look at it than if there's one little book? You want it to stand out. You see the old style, the way Prabhupada designed the Krishna book himself to come out. Do you notice something about the size of that book? There is a book bigger than that, the atlases, much bigger. Every other book is smaller. So if you see in a bookshelf, somebody may have the big atlases of the world and the other books, and the one that stands out is this one that's extra medium sized. It stands out because it's not as big as the atlas, but it's much bigger than the other books. So we have to see that which people are innocent and which people are demoniac and not waste our time on them. And we don't become scared. It's just a matter of discriminating, as we say, which one works and which one doesn't. We don't attach a judgment to ourselves about it. If you talk to 10 people and 9 of them are envious, you spend the time with the 10th person. If you talk to 10 people and 9 of them are interested, you know, look how great I am. I found the good ones, right? So let's go on here to something more. One of the Indian guests had a question. Prabhupada, you are giving a very simple process. Why there are no Indians coming? They are exposed to Krishna from their birth. Still, they are not interested. Nobody wants to listen. Srila Prabhupada answered as he had in Toronto, because they have become Badasabhib, especially in foreign countries, they become Badasahib. So that is a misfortune of India. They're giving up their culture and being misguided. So if they actually feel that they must maintain their own culture, then it is not difficult. It is the duty of every Indian, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that. If that mentality is developed, that in India we were born, we have got the greatest culture recognized by all the world. So I must make my life successful by taking this culture and distributing it to the whole world. This is real Indian culture. He told his guest that they are thinking ourselves poverty-stricken, but it is only because they have given up their own culture. Otherwise, there is no question of poverty-stricken. So anyway, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message, that every Indian should take advantage of the great culture, Vedic culture, and make his life successful. And after acquiring mature knowledge, he should distribute the knowledge throughout the whole world. In reply to the man's inquiry as to how to get them interested, Srila Prabhupada repeated, by preaching. If you preach, then you'll meet with so many obstacles, and you'll have to prepare yourself to meet the obstacles. Then you become strong preacher. Resistance, there is no difficulty. But if there is difficulty, atheistic class of men, it is very difficult. So take innocent, those who are actually eager to hear. Everyone should be inquisitive to know about the absolute truth, Brahman. But education is different nowadays. People are interested with hammer, how to play on hammer. That's all technology. There's no question of Brahman. Let Brahman go to hell. Now take out the hammer. The Russian emblem is the hammer and the sheath. That's all. After the program each morning, all the devotees flood out of the temple, eager to accompany Srila Prabhupada along the upwardly sloping path to the house. They chant and dance the whole way until he disappears through the door. Pardumya's son, Aniruddha, now part of our traveling party, enjoys the excitement. Rather than being kept back out of the way with the other children, he has the privilege of being able to run just in front or alongside of his divine grace, and Prabhupada never seemed to mind. So we see Prabhupada has the mood of expanding Krishna consciousness and trying to preach this to others. And you get enough people interested, then it starts growing from there. Like you plant seeds, not every seed grows, but some of them will grow a tree that provides all kinds of fruit. And there are some things in history that we see that Prabhupada wanted us to preach to the masses and also the class of people. We see there's a picture in 1975. The Soviet system was very closed. You couldn't have any books but what they authorized. Certainly no books about God. But at the Moscow Book Fair, Gopal Krishna Swami and a few others, they gave a Bhagavad Gita to the mayor of Moscow, and he's reading this very intently. What did that person do? Does anyone know? This person became Boris Yeltsin, who, when they decided to to let the countries like Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania go and be open to the West and end the communist system, Gorbachev was trying to do it slowly. And the hardline communists came along and they arrested Gorbachev, put him in prison, and they were going to take over. And Boris Yeltsin had read this Bhagavad Gita. The tanks came out to stop the parliament building. He got up, stood on the tank, and said, "This is an illegal move. You will not attack the Congress." He says, this is authorized by the new government. You will turn around and go back. And they went back, and they told him, "You'll free Gorbachev," and he did. And when Boris Yeltsin took over, the society became free. And now India is the biggest book distributor. But at that time, about 56% of the books in the world were being sold in Russia. We had so many devotees there, and all the people wanted books. Now it's become a little more restrictive. You can't sell books anywhere and everywhere, but they were selling such a huge amount of books from that. And you see it, you influence a few people. We see that Radhanath Swami gave a Bhagavad Gita to Obama, and Bill Clinton stepped out of a car and said, "I love you, Hare Krishna people." And he took a Bhagavad Gita and gave a donation. And he gave a whole talk about how he was glad to become a vegan and get the meat out of his life. He gave that on the CNN, the Central News Network. And so we see people being influenced. I don't know if anybody saw it, but we just opened this temple in the new Mumbai, which Mumbai is on the west coast of India, and a little bit inland they have a whole new city where a lot of it looks like America, because it's easier to plan something new than change the way it looks. Like it was easier to build Bolito and Durban North than make Chatsworth look like America. So Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister of India, and he gave a whole half-hour talk about ISKCON and the things that ISKCON is doing and Prabhupada's mission. And he did this all without notes. And he's the Prime Minister of India, and it was being broadcast on national television. So we can influence these people, and we have to be careful not to spend too much time promoting how good one side is, because quite often the one political dilemma is just the opposite side. It's like, which is good? Plus 40 temperature or minus 40? And it won't do us much good to start arguing with people about which one is good. What we have to do is present the ultimate path and not look so much at criticizing certain things. Because even things that are not so good, if we spend our time criticizing it, instead of getting people to take to Krishna consciousness, then they take to Krishna consciousness, they automatically become vegetarians, they automatically become nonviolent. All these things come as part of the package. And it's better, as what Prabhupada would say, just come and watch what we do. Just like if you're selling a certain product, do you care what side of the political spectrum someone is at? It's like I remember my godbrother, Badri Narayan, was distributing incense. He says, "What astrological sign are you?" They said, "Scorpio." He says, "Oh, strawberry." This is, "What astrological sign are you?" "Capricorn." "Oh, strawberry is just the one for you." "What astrological sign are you?" "Gemini." "Strawberry." He only had strawberry incense. But if you ask somebody what, "Oh, we have just the solution for you," right? So you want to tailor it that way, that the solution is just for them. And we want to do, as Prabhupada said, in some things, like he talks very much about using the different cases. When we use the objective case, when we use the nominative case, and when we use the dative case. Prabhupada says we worship Krishna in the dative case. It's kind of interesting because we don't use the dative case in English, because it's all about what I give to you. I give some kartals to you. I prepare food for you. I do the artik for you. That's the dative case. And in the other case, you're saying, Krishna, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want you to do this. That's the imperative. We're telling God what he needs to do. But that's not how we approach Krishna. We don't approach Krishna with a list of instructions. He may not need our instructions or advice. He seems to have done quite well before we were here. So we worship Krishna in the dative case. And when we're discussing things, like if someone takes out a cigarette, we don't use the nominative case and say, hey, you stupid idiot, you're not allowed to smoke a cigarette here. You say, I'm sorry, smoking is not allowed, because it's the objective case. But when we're inviting people to come to the temple, then it's nominative. We don't say, oh, we're asking everyone to come to our temple. We say, I'm inviting you personally to come. And it's good to have that, because sometimes people wonder if they're allowed to come there. The one person said to Bhakti Chaitanya Swami, he says, well, I don't think I'm allowed there because I think that's a Hindi temple. He says, with my red hair, do I look like a Hindi person to you? Did anybody think Bhakti Chaitanya Swami was a Hindi person? Or is he a Tamil person? Does the red hair give it away that it's neither one? So people always think, oh, it must be for someone else. But if you invite them personally, you do that in Laguna, the book, people come with the invitation in case they need it. Like if there's a wedding, you show the invitation. So they come with that. They're thinking maybe they need it. But that's good, because at least they know they have personally been invited. So when people are innocent and come, when we see them come, you tell them, bring the invitation with you and hold it. That way, they know they're welcome and you know there's someone new. That way we can find the innocent. In Chaupati, they ask, anybody new here, and where are they from? And if someone's from Newlands, someone from Newlands goes over. If someone is from Westville, someone comes over from there. If someone is from North Dean, they go over. If someone is from Eastville or South Dean, or do we have an Eastville and a South Dean? No, we don't. But if we did, we would have someone from there go over and meet the people and give them some advice, like give them counseling. Because sometimes it's good that people have someone to talk to. When you get a spiritual master, you don't change. But if someone's counseling you, you can get someone else later. But quite often, many devotees may be willing. Look, Sri Sri Radhanath are back. Let's say with many people here, if someone new says, you know, I have some issues to talk to about in life, can I talk to you? Would many of those people talk to them? They might, right? Many of them might. If someone really came over and asked them, but some people are a little shy. They don't come over and go, hi, I'm Radhika Jivan, and I'm here to help you with your issues, right? I mean, Radhika Jivan probably does that. But other people, just because they didn't come over and say that, doesn't mean that they're not happy to have you here. And sometimes people think that, because like I said, we have to go by the stigma of other churches. You go to some churches and they think, well, what are you doing here? You're not part of our church. Some of it has to be an ethnic thing, that it's only a certain group, it's only a certain tribe, it's only a certain country. And other ones, they'll talk to you out there in the foyer for 5 minutes and say, now you want to join our church? And what we do is we're just happy that people come. So we have to let people know that they're happy, because just because everyone didn't come and greet them. Some places they have the artificial thing, I think it's like at the S, they says, what's your name? And they say, Steve. It says, Steve, we're so happy. They all sing, we're so happy to have Steve here. No one's as special as Steve is. You're so welcome here, right? And just because people aren't singing that doesn't mean that you're not necessarily welcome. You know, we don't stop people there. If you go to the temple in Jagannath Puri, even if you're an Indian, they look you over carefully to see if you belong there. And then they make some people leave, even who are Indians. And some people who are Africans, they don't know they're not Indians and they just let them in. But this isn't what you mean by discrimination. This is prejudice, because they assume that these people don't know. Whereas somebody may be a white person or an African, but they're born in a devotee family and never eaten meat. And many of the Indians who come in may be total meat eaters, and yet they judge it just on the birth. So this is the difference in this kind of discrimination. So let's see what more is here. In the mid-morning, Pushta Krishna brought Srila Prabhupada a few pieces of mail for his response. One was from Akshayananda Swami in Vrindavan. He confirmed that he sent the altar measurements and photos to Fiji. He also said that all the women and children were being moved out of the guest house to Taparia House, and that Dhananjaya Prabhu was making property security arrangements. Now at least 4 rooms were being rented daily, and good quality prasadam was being served in the restaurant. This has resulted in at least one member contributing the entire cost of the Sunday feast in appreciation. Srila Prabhupada was pleased with the news, and with so many letters and requests, he is finally getting the desired action. He replied, encouraging Akshayananda Maharaj to continue improving the standards. Everything must be neat and clean and silent, then people will come. As far as Taparia House was concerned, he gave his instruction that it should not be vacant at any time, and that will deter any thieves. He advised building a high brick wall around the perimeter. A letter from Ranadhir Das at BBT requested confirmation that Prabhupada wanted regular copies of Back to Godhead sent to his godbrother Sridhar Swami in Navadvip. Srila Prabhupada was pleased that he had sought approval before sending it out. This is to certify that you should send Back to Godhead magazine regularly to Sridhar Swami in Navadvip, as already requested. I am glad to see that you are now conscientiously executing your duty. Always check with me first before sending out any literatures to persons who have not been specifically approved by me. So Prabhupada is showing the things here that we should conscientiously execute our duty using our intelligence and making decisions, but at the same time we shouldn't send the things out to persons that haven't been approved. If someone buys them, of course that is approved, but to just send them out is something different. And he says conscientiously about executing our duty. Prabhupada says that there's several kinds of servants. The one kind of servant doesn't get the work done. Another kind of servant may do it after he's asked, and the more times he has to be asked, the less good it is. And others of them know what needs to be done and go take care of it. Isn't it true? They go take care of what needs to be done. And that is the best servant that does that. He takes care of what's there. So we have to be willing to take responsibility and follow instructions at the same time. Some people want to give instructions when it's not their job, but then they don't want to take responsibility for what it is that they need to do. And I've always told people this, that in my travels around the world, I try to share some of the things that work in different areas. And sometimes, of course, they may be easier in some places, like the ideas at some of the places like Laguna Beach. The people go and meet with new people and talk to them. And this gets people, makes them feel welcome, and it encourages people to come. Or the idea that on the first meeting, the best thing is just to make a friend and to get them to feel like they should come back next week. But some people seem to object to the way everything is done. And I always tell people that if the devotees have a certain method of doing it, and that method is bona fide, and they're encouraged to do it, it's a better use for me to encourage them to keep doing than thinking that they should change it. Just like we see when we have the Sunday feast lecture, some people like to lecture from here, some people lecture from there, and some from there. So which one of those should I object to? Which one? It shouldn't, because you only object to things. You know, if someone comes in with a gun, then you call someone to have them removed, right? But if someone is lecturing from a different side, we don't make a problem about it. We have to realize that some people may do things a little differently. And we do have our ingenuity to do things differently when we meet people to bring them, because it's better, rather than trying to take over everything, you know, we think that we'll just jump to the highest position. That's the best service, right? That I think that I'll just go in and be with the gopis, and I'll put the tilak on Krishna, and I'll go to Pretoria, and I'll become the Secretary of Defense, and then I'll take over the temple and become temple president too. And this makes me the best patriot and the best administrator and the best gopi, right? Does it? Or maybe I've overstepped my qualification. If I go to Pretoria and try to become the Secretary of Defense, or go to India to become the defense minister, what is the problem with that? They already have one who is more qualified? When was the last time I saw the defense minister of India? A couple days ago, I saw the video when Narendra Modi was speaking. He was there at the opening of the temple in Kargar. Now, if I show up to take over his position, they say, have you been appointed? Do you have the experience? Are you qualified? No, but I want to do the best service possible. So the best service is when we can help with something. Think how we can be helpful, not how we can take everything apart. Some people are that way. They disagree with everything. I call this the tweaker method of managing. You know what the tweaker is? This is the person that takes amphetamines, and what they'll do is they'll come to this and the harmonium, and they take the whole thing apart. Do they know how to put it back together? I say, you shouldn't do the Sunday feast this way. You shouldn't serve prasadam there. You shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that. Do I have any idea how to do it? Oh, I have no idea how to do it. You should just stop doing all those things. So this is like the tweaker who takes apart the microphone and takes apart the harmonium. Then what happens? Well, you won't be hearing the harmonium over the loudspeaker because the harmonium is broken. And some people want to do that. They seem to want to take everything apart because they think it could be done better. Someone said that once they said they thought that, they said they objected to him in LA because he said that someone else besides Suvas should be the temple president. I said, well, who else? He said, well, that's a different discussion. I said, no, if you really think someone else should be the temple president, shouldn't you have an idea on who it is? Or do you just remove people and then get it later, right? Would that be helpful? Let's just remove all the people because I don't think they do a good job. But you find sometimes people think this way. They just take things apart. But we have to see that it's more, if we really want to be helpful, we offer one suggestion at a time. Or we try something ourselves, like in the Namhata, where they try something like, say, we decided to go out and do Harinama. And then that brings the people out of the house who didn't want to go, come outside the house. And then we give them an invitation and then a book. We find this worked for us. It's like Prabhupada says, rather than just criticize others, you do something better. And if you do something that works very well and share it with others, they don't take it as an insult. Say, hey, we went out and did it this way. You guys might want to try this also. It worked well, rather than, how come you guys don't do the Harinama and so that people will come out of the house? Why don't you do that? We don't want to have to be challenging. We want to do things that work and share those with others. And one of the easiest things, of course, is talking to people. Talk to people at the Sunday feast. Get them to bring other people. Make friends with them. Stay in touch with them. Some people come with phones, don't they? And you have a phone number. You can give them their phone number, and you can take theirs. And do you call them once a year or 20 times a day? No, neither one. You check in once in a while. You know, some of the people felt threatened by some of the Christian groups because they joined the church, and if they didn't come last Sunday, this Sunday they show up in the car to bring you to the church. You know, it might be if you ask somebody, hey, you know, I'm in your area, I can give you a ride. Would that be more favorable than just showing up? Like my big friend in Laguna Beach named Eudes here. He says, oh, we're having a namhata on Saturday. I said, maybe I'll come. He looks at me and says, oh, you're coming. Now, he's just joking, but is that the way to do it? We send the biggest person, someone, you tell them, the biggest person goes there, will you be back at the Sunday feast next Sunday? He says, well, maybe. And the big tall person says, oh, no, you're coming. You'll be there, right? And then he shows up on Sunday to remind him with a posse of people. They show up with the shotguns and the pistols and say, we came to escort you to the temple. Is that the good way? Should we try that? No? We won't try that. It is a new idea. Aren't new ideas always good? Not always. Okay. Let's see here. I was in Srila Prabhupada's room on a small matter, and Prabhupada began to talk the psychology of how men and women become entangled together. He had been working recently on the story of Mohini Murti and a section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which gives descriptions of the heavenly maidens and life on the higher planets. Srila Prabhupada was walking back over to his seat, and then he suddenly raised his left arm above his head, exposed the side of his body to me. Patting the side of his chest with his right hand, he laughed. This portion of a woman's body is very attractive to a man. By seeing this, even Shiva was captivated. Although Srila Prabhupada usually never sees anyone during his massage, he had been so keen to see our scientists develop a credible and powerful challenge to modern scientific atheism that he is giving them as much of his time and attention as they need. Consequently, the members of the Institute gathered to the back veranda of the house today as Prabhupada relaxed in his gamsha in the sunshine to see his daily workout. Yes, Prabhupada is talking about that natural attraction. He's saying that Rupa Goswami says that just as young boys and young girls are attracted to each other, that we can become naturally attracted to Krishna. But it quite often doesn't work that way, does it? Even we understand the philosophy. You think that the material body is just a mass of flesh and blood, and it's put around bones. But when it's all in the right place, it appears a lot more attractive. We see this in the species. The birds follow each other around. Now the pigeons will chase any pigeon. The dogs will chase any dog. Doesn't matter if it's mother, sister, daughter. That's why if men say if women say a man is like a dog, that's not a compliment. Doesn't mean that he's loyal. And we see that some of the birds, the mynah birds, follow the others around. And which mynah bird is more attractive? Can we tell? To us, they just look differently. And somehow, which is more like with the ducks, which is more attractive, the male or the female? The male's more attractive. In the human species, I think it's the females. But females probably think it's the males. But it's all about their perception, isn't it? It's all the perception of what we're attached to. But Rupa Goswami says, if you're at all attached to society, friendship, love, then you don't go down by the bank of the river and see the beautiful form of Shyama Sundar. They many of these love songs they sing. That was my problem. In 1960, my mother took me to the movie The Bells Are Ringing. And in that movie, Dean Martin sang to the girl. Let's see if I can go. It's been a while since 1960. He says, "The losing dice are tossed. All my bridges were crossed. Nowhere to go. Never a doubt or fear. I found you just in time. I'm on my way." And there I thought at 1960, I was like 8 years old. That's it. When I meet the proper woman, even if all the stuff went wrong, I'm on my way. Never a doubt or fear. Now, does this song sound like a good song? If it was sung about Krishna, the losing dice were tossed, everything was wrong, but now I found Krishna, I'm on my way. Never a doubt or fear. Doesn't Krishna say that? Sarvadharma pradityaja mamekam saranam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhya mokshayashami masuchaha. Give up all varieties and surrender to me. I will free you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So wouldn't that song be better appointed to Krishna? When the Beatles sang the song, "Something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover," was that song about some woman or about Krishna? What was it about? Who can tell me? What? It wasn't. It was about Krishna. But George Harrison said he couldn't think no one attracts something in the way he moves, because then it sounds like it's gay, right? But it was actually sung about Krishna, because Krishna has a male and female form, Radha and Krishna. So it was actually sung about Krishna. So there are some that are like that. And George Harrison followed the things with Prabhupada. Prabhupada talked to George Harrison and John Lennon. And John Lennon and Yoko Ono were not as happy with Prabhupada because he wasn't as accommodating as some gurus. Because they said, "Can we be blessed that in the next life we'll be born together?" Other gurus says, "Oh, yes, yes, you will be born together. I see it in the stars," and would tell them whatever they'd want to hear, right? And Prabhupada says, "I can't guarantee you that." "Can't you guarantee?" "No, I can't guarantee you that." And wouldn't you rather someone is honest rather than guaranteeing you anything? If they guarantee you anything, does it mean anything? What if the man tells the woman, "I'll buy you the island of Australia"? Does that mean she can go to the bank and collect on that? So Prabhupada didn't mislead people. He gave them the truth as it was. And he wasn't going to tell them that. And they wanted the guarantee that they could take birth together. Instead, John Lennon was killed and Yoko Ono was still around. So should we stop there for now? Any questions or comments? Who is here now in South Africa that was here when Prabhupada came 50 years ago? Can anybody name some of the people? Who's here now? Who? Where's the other microphone? They have to think about it carefully. Who is here now that was here when Prabhupada came? Yes, who? Parthasarathi. Who else? Who? Ramanujacharya. Anyone else? Vishnu Krishna was here. He's passed on. Who else was here? Riddha was here. He's in India. Who else was there? Gokulindra is in South Africa, but he doesn't participate anymore. Do you remember Gokulindra? He left a long time ago, though, right? I always invite him to come because I made him into a devotee. Because one of the reasons we came to South Africa is somebody had written to Prabhupada that a European man named, this was from 72. What was his name? Peter somebody. that he wished that devotees could come to South Africa. And Prabhupada said there was a lot of potency in South Africa. So we came, and I went to see that group. I went to East, it was fortunate, the day the security police found out where I was, I had gone to East London. You're not going to get out up there. A bird is up there trying to get out. Look at that. So I distributed a lot of books there, and then I went to, stopped in Grahamstown on the way, and then I went to Port Elizabeth, and I did a lot of books there, and I did kirtans and classes with this group of European descendants, and the one boy, Greg Castell, I got a few of them to chant on beads, and he was going back to school in Grahamstown, so he went with me, and he stayed at the Indian families with me that I was staying at. And he was chanting rounds, and he was practicing, and when I came back, I left there on a Thursday. I got here on a Thursday, and Friday, out in Lammercy, no one was out there, so when the cars came up the driveway, I knew something was wrong, and it was the security police. And they said, "Where's your passport?" They took me into the passport. I took the visa out because it had expired, and they said, "Where's your visa?" I said, "Oh, it's coming from Johannesburg with my things on Monday." They says, "You'll be back on Monday." So I called. I paid for all the books. We'd gotten like $15,000 worth of books, and I ordered more. And there were 5,000 that were, I paid for all of it, including the 5,000 still there. And I told Pushta Krishna he had to arrive the next day, and he showed up the next day. That was a Saturday. On Monday, I went back and they figured out what I'd done, but I had my mother send me a ticket. It still took all day to decide whether I was going to jail or whether I was going out on a plane. And they decided that I would be sent out of the country that day, and if I didn't go, my ticket would become invalid and I would go to jail. So Pushta Krishna was there, Ramanujacharya, and Parthasarathi, and Rita, and of course some different Indian people were there because they had worked to bring Prabhupada here. And why did they bring Rita and Parthasarathi here? Does someone know why? Why did they come? Because I think they had dual citizenship, but they had South African, so you can't throw them out. Whereas American or just thing they can be, so they were brought so they couldn't be thrown out. So Parthasarathi and Ramanujacharya have been here ever since, haven't they? Yes? Isn't it true? Or Ramanuja went somewhere else for a short while, didn't he? Nairobi and... Did I go somewhere? Did I go or was I sent out? I was told I would never be allowed in this country again. So how come I'm here? Because their power is over. I told them, that's okay, you're throwing me out now, but someday you'll be gone and I'll get to come back. People says, oh, did the temple throw you out? I said, the temple couldn't throw me out, I was the temple. They said, well, when you came to start a temple, didn't you go to Sri Sri Radharanath temple? Like it was here, they don't realize first people had to come and get some interest, and then they had to have those people get more interest, and then they had to create namhatas and get the farm at Quito Ridge, and then get a lot of interest and collect a lot of money and do a lot of building to get a temple. It wasn't here when I first came here. They said, did you go to Sri Sri Radharanath? People don't understand what it's like, what the work it took to have something here, and then how easily it is available. Like some of them thought, well, it's inconvenient to come at 3 o'clock, so we'll only come if it's at 11. But if it's really valuable, would either time be good? Of course, we have to change the times and accommodate them. Some places nighttime is better, some places we do that. But then again, people should realize how much has been made convenient for them. They don't have to find interest and have those people with interest collect money and to start a temple while they're hiding from security police. They don't realize that things are not perfect in this country now, but the new government doesn't come to cause us problems. The old government would show up and look for the foreigners, pick them up and take them away. And that doesn't happen now. So we have to give gratitude for the things that are here. It seems that there's a Mangal Artik and the deities' clothing is changed on most days. Sometimes people don't see that the clothing has been changed, but that's probably because they weren't here. If they come here, they'll see at 7:30 in the morning that the clothing is different than it was at 4:30 in the morning. And how would you know that? You had to be there both times. All right, Hare Krishna.